It's hard to believe that 28 years have passed since Titanic took the world by storm, becoming a cinematic masterpiece that captivated millions. Directed by James Cameron and starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet, this 1997 epic not only told a heart-wrenching love story but also changed the landscape of filmmaking. But what happened to the legendary cast after their iconic roles aboard the doomed ship? From DiCaprio's rise to global superstardom to Winslet's impressive career evolution, and the unforgettable performances of the supporting cast, the stars of Titanic have continued their journeys in fascinating ways. Let's explore where they are now, in 2025. Gloria Stewart was born on July 4, 1910, and portrayed Old Rose in Titanic in 1997 at the age of 87. As the film's emotional anchor, Old Rose offered a haunting narrative thread, recalling the doomed voyage with equal parts grace and regret. While Gloria's performance earned acclaim, her career had long been stifled by McCarthy-era Hollywood politics. Her fierce leftist activism and support for the Screen Actors Guild saw her blacklisted and unofficially shut out of major roles. Her personal life mirrored that turbulence. Her first marriage to sculptor Blair Gordon Newell ended in emotional estrangement, and her daughter Sylvia remained distant for years after Gloria's long absences and radical political involvement created rifts. Gloria's reputation for being combative with studio executives and outspoken about Hollywood's misogyny made her both respected and feared. Rumors followed her well into old age, suggestions of secret communist affiliations and whispered feuds with co-stars she dismissed as Hollywood cowards. She died on September 26, 2010, from respiratory failure, at the age of 100. Bernard Hill was born on December 17, 1944, and took on the role of Captain Edward Smith in Titanic in 1997 at the age of 53. As the calm yet doomed captain, Hill brought gravitas to the sinking ship, but off-screen, he was anything but serene. His success in Lord of the Rings later masked a career fraught with near misses and resentment over being typecast. Known for walking off auditions when scripts didn't meet his standards, he developed a reputation for being difficult to direct. Though he kept his personal life guarded, tabloids briefly exposed his years-long estrangement from his son, which insiders linked to Hill's uncompromising nature and periods of depressive withdrawal. Co-stars whispered about his notorious perfectionism, which once led him to delay an entire production over the stitching on a costume. He was quietly battling health issues and retreated from the public eye in his final years. Bernard Hill died of natural causes on May 5, 2024, at the age of 79. Bill Paxton was born on May 17, 1955, and stepped into the role of Brock Lovett in Titanic in 1997 at the age of 42. Brock, the obsessive treasure hunter, mirrored a side of Paxton himself, driven, relentless, and occasionally at odds with everyone around him. Though Paxton was a beloved figure in sci-fi and action cinema, his Hollywood rise was rocky. His directorial debut, Frailty, was critically praised but commercially underwhelming, and his later projects were often overshadowed by studio disputes. His marriage to Louise Newberry was not without challenges. Friends close to the couple hinted at long periods of separation and alleged emotional affairs on Paxton's part during filming. Known to clash with directors like James Cameron, Paxton was once accused of storming off set during a heated dispute over creative control. Behind the scenes, there were murmurs of excessive perfectionism and a tendency to dominate younger actors. On February 25, 2017, he died of complications from heart surgery, aged 61, sparking outrage over alleged medical negligence. David Warner was born on July 29, 1941, and portrayed the calculating Spicer Lovejoy in Titanic in 1997 at the age of 56. With a stare that could slice through steel, Warner played villains to perfection, because, as some industry insiders whispered, he lived much of his life as an outsider with demons. A Shakespearean actor by training, Warner's career in Hollywood was hampered by rumors of mental breakdowns and prolonged absences linked to severe anxiety. His personal life was shadowed by a failed marriage to actress Harriet Lindgren and allegations, never confirmed, of controlling behavior and professional jealousy. He avoided interviews for years, prompting speculation about deep-rooted reclusiveness. On set, some found him intimidating, if not outright volatile, especially when dealing with what he perceived as artistic incompetence. Warner was also quietly battling cancer in his later years, a struggle he kept secret even from close friends. He died on July 24, 2022, 5 days shy of his 81st birthday. Leonardo DiCaprio was born on November 11, 1974, and portrayed Jack Dawson in Titanic in 1997 at the age of 23. Jack, the free-spirited drifter and artist, was the heart of the film's emotional core, brimming with passion, spontaneity, and tragic idealism. DiCaprio's breakout success in Titanic propelled him to superstardom, but his journey wasn't without its shadows. After the film, he was widely mocked for his pretty boy image, struggling for years to be taken seriously despite his obvious talent. Known as the Pussy Posse ringleader in the late 90s, alongside Tobey Maguire and others, Leo was infamous for wild parties, reckless behavior, and a string of romances with barely legal models, earning him tabloid notoriety. Behind the charisma, there were darker rumors, emotional manipulation of partners, diva-like behavior on set, and alleged clashes with directors who found him erratic. Despite his environmental activism, critics point to his frequent use of private jets and yachts, calling out hypocrisy. As of 2025, DiCaprio is 50 years old, still acting and producing, though his reputation remains split between respected actor and Hollywood enigma. Bernard Fox was born on May 11, 1927, and portrayed Colonel Archibald Gracie in Titanic in 1997 at the age of 70. Behind the mustache and aristocratic air was a man notorious for mischief and borderline scandalous pranks. Fox had built a long career on charm, but it was often paired with disruptive humor and inappropriate remarks, especially during the 1960s and 70s. Multiple co-stars from his bewitched days privately complained of his off-color jokes and unwanted advances, issues largely buried in the #MeToo era. Though he remained married to Jacqueline Fox, the marriage was rumored to be one of convenience in his later years, marked by long periods of separation. A well-known heavy drinker in his prime, Fox's party lifestyle cost him several roles, including a lucrative series that dropped him after a reported hotel scandal in 1982. Despite maintaining a genial public image, insiders knew him as a man with two faces. He died of heart failure on December 14, 2016, at the age of 89. Kate Winslet was born on October 5, 1975, and played Rose DeWitt Bukater in Titanic in 1997 when she was 22. Rose was fiercely independent, emotionally trapped by wealth and patriarchy, and ultimately rebellious in the name of love. Winslet was lauded for her performance, but the aftermath was complicated. While the world saw her as graceful and articulate, she battled immense pressure over her body image and was brutally fat-shamed by tabloids, leading to lifelong insecurity and mental health struggles. Her off-screen love life was equally turbulent: 3 marriages, 1 divorce clouded by rumors of infidelity, and intense relationships with co-stars and directors. She clashed with James Cameron during filming, calling it a nightmare experience and criticizing the harsh conditions and his aggressive style. She later admitted she was traumatized by the filming. In 2025, at 49, Winslet remains a respected actress, but her career is marked by contradictions and the ghosts of choices she has yet to fully explain. Kathy Bates was born on June 28, 1948, and played Molly Brown in Titanic in 1997 at the age of 49. Her portrayal of the unsinkable Molly Brown was warm, humorous, and indomitable, a rare beacon of hope amid the chaos. Behind her commanding screen presence, Bates' life was fraught with painful battles. She faced brutal typecasting for years, reduced to matronly or eccentric roles despite her immense range. Her 2003 diagnosis with ovarian cancer, followed by breast cancer in 2012, deeply affected her career momentum and personal life. She became reclusive during treatment, and close friends revealed her depressive episodes and fear of being forgotten in the industry. Professionally, she was known to speak her mind, which led to several falling outs with directors and co-stars. Rumors swirled about her being abrasive and too political on set. As of 2025, she is 76 and in semi-retirement, respected but marked by a life of resilience against a system that often tried to silence her. Billy Zane was born on February 24, 1966, and took on the role of Cal Hockley in Titanic in 1997 at the age of 31. Cal, the snobbish, violent fiancé, became an iconic villain, silk-suited rage wrapped in entitlement. After Titanic, Zane should have soared, but his career faltered quickly. He was branded too theatrical, too intense, and whispers swirled about him being difficult on set, clashing with cast members and allegedly demanding script changes to elevate his role. His eccentric fashion and dramatic demeanor often overshadowed his performances, and he bounced between low-budget films and failed TV pilots. In his personal life, Zane's engagement to British model Kelly Brook was a tabloid spectacle, marked by jealousy, accusations of cheating, and a highly publicized split. His financial troubles later made headlines, including unpaid debts and a failed attempt to reinvent himself as a visual artist. There were rumors of controlling behavior behind the scenes and tense altercations with agents and press. In 2025, Zane is 59, still working sporadically, but widely seen as a case of squandered potential. Frances Fisher was born on May 11, 1952, and portrayed Ruth DeWitt Bukater in Titanic in 1997 at the age of 45. As Rose's cold, socially obsessed mother, Fisher embodied class anxiety and quiet desperation. Off-screen, her life mirrored the emotional chaos of her character. Her long-term relationship with Clint Eastwood, with whom she had a daughter, ended bitterly amid tabloid rumors of infidelity and abandonment. Fisher raised their child alone, often describing it as one of the most isolating periods of her life. Politically vocal and unfiltered, Fisher's activism frequently clashed with Hollywood decorum. She was nearly blacklisted in the early 2000s after a series of fiery public statements on war, race, and sexism in the industry. Several collaborators found her difficult, labeling her righteous and uncompromising, and her blunt critiques of directors reportedly cost her roles. As of 2025, Fisher is 73, still politically active and occasionally acting, but her legacy is as much defined by her off-screen defiance as her on-screen performances. Jonathan Hyde, born May 21, 1948, portrayed Bruce Ismay in Titanic, 1997, at 49. His character, arrogant and self-serving, eerily mirrored Hyde's off-screen reputation, according to former castmates. Known in theater circles as intellectually sharp yet emotionally volatile, Hyde allegedly bullied younger actors and refused direction from younger filmmakers. He reportedly walked off a film set in the 1980s after being asked to reshoot a scene he called beneath his intellect. Hyde's marriage endured, but gossip hinted at past affairs during international tours and a troubled dynamic with his daughter, actress Georgia King, whose Hollywood rise eclipsed his own. Professionally, he grew isolated in the 2000s, blacklisted by several U.S. casting agents after what insiders called deliberately combative behavior. Still, Hyde found refuge in European theater and voice work, maintaining a sharp tongue and sharper wit. In 2025, he is 76, semi-retired, and spends most of his time in rural England, rarely giving interviews and never apologizing. Victor Garber, born on March 16, 1949, played the role of Thomas Andrews in Titanic, 1997, at age 48. As the noble shipbuilder burdened with guilt, Garber brought a haunting gravity to the screen. Yet behind the scenes, his career was marked more by silence than storm, until whispers emerged from the Broadway underworld. rumors long circulated about Garber's domineering presence during rehearsals and an alleged tendency to undermine directors with passive-aggressive control. Though outwardly gracious, some collaborators described him as emotionally withholding and eerily detached. His private life remained a fortress until his sexuality became public knowledge in 2013, decades after his rise to fame. Though never accused of criminal wrongdoing, Garber's perfectionism reportedly drove away protégés and even strained ties with co-stars who found his composure unsettling. In 2025, he is 76, retired from acting, and lives a quiet life with his longtime partner, largely shunning Hollywood. Susie Amos, born May 1, 1962, played Lizzie Calvert in Titanic, 1997, at age 35. The on-screen granddaughter of Rose, Susie's role was brief but pivotal, though it paled in comparison to the drama unfolding behind the camera. During filming, she began a clandestine affair with director James Cameron, which became public shortly after the film's release, leading to Cameron's scandalous divorce from Linda Hamilton. This affair made Amos a controversial figure, branded by tabloids as a homewrecker. Though she later married Cameron, insiders described their dynamic as one of creative imbalance, with Amos abandoning her acting career to serve as Cameron's environmental ambassador. Some accused her of leveraging his fame to build a green empire while silencing criticism with charm. Despite her philanthropic work, whispers persisted about staff turnover and controlling behavior behind the scenes at their nonprofit ventures. In 2025, she is 63, lives with Cameron, and remains out of the spotlight, her legacy forever tied to one of Hollywood's most notorious love triangles. Jason Barry, born December 14, 1972, played Tommy Ryan in Titanic, 1997, at age 24. Barry's turn as the fiery Irish immigrant made him a brief fan favorite, but his off-screen journey was far darker. After the film, Barry returned to Ireland hoping to parlay his fame into more serious roles, but his growing reputation for unreliability made producers wary. Multiple projects fell through amid rumors of substance use and erratic behavior. In 2004, he divorced actress Nicola Charles after a chaotic marriage allegedly marred by infidelity and financial strain. Barry later admitted to bouts of depression and heavy alcohol use during this period, which led to a DUI arrest in 2006, hushed by a savvy publicist. He tried to reinvent himself in independent cinema, but success was fleeting. Friends said he struggled with loneliness and the weight of faded fame, often venting frustrations on social media. In 2025, Barry is 52, living in Dublin, quietly pursuing theater and sobriety, far from the grandeur of the Titanic. Danny Nucci, born September 15, 1968, appeared as Fabrizio in Titanic, 1997, at 29. His cheerful portrayal of Jack's sidekick belied a tumultuous career. Before Titanic, he was often cast as ethnic stereotypes, a fact he later admitted fueled deep resentment and insecurities. Despite gaining fame from the film, his career stalled, with critics noting he lacked star power. Behind the scenes, Nucci was reportedly difficult to direct, frequently clashing with producers over script choices and billing. His first marriage ended amid quiet allegations of emotional neglect, and his second reportedly suffered under the weight of financial pressures and dwindling opportunities. Friends noted his heavy drinking during the mid-2000s and rumors of gambling debts surfaced briefly in 2008, though never confirmed. Professionally, he disappeared into television guest roles and direct-to-video projects. In 2025, he is 56, still working sporadically, and openly acknowledges his regrets, describing himself in a rare interview as Hollywood's nearly man. Johnny Phillips was born on September 5, 1963, and played the role of Second Officer Lightoller in Titanic, 1997, at the age of 34. Lightoller was a dedicated and authoritative officer, often seen as the epitome of duty and courage, willing to sacrifice himself for the lives of others. However, Johnny's real-life career has been far less dramatic. Known for his strong and often stoic performances, he has largely remained out of the spotlight, with no major scandals to report. Despite his professional success, Johnny's personal life has been a source of mystery. While there have been whispers of a difficult marriage, he has managed to keep his private life away from the tabloids. It's his elusive nature that has both fascinated and frustrated fans and critics alike. In 2025, at the age of 61, Johnny Phillips lives a quiet life, continuing to act in small roles but largely staying away from the limelight, preferring a more anonymous existence. Yuan Griffith, born June 10, 1973, portrayed Fifth Officer Lowe in Titanic, 1997, at age 24. Griffith's upright character stood in stark contrast to the personal chaos that would emerge decades later. In 2021, his wife Alice Evans launched a public social media tirade after he filed for divorce, accusing him of infidelity, gaslighting, and abandonment in a messy, headline-dominating scandal. The custody battle over their two daughters turned toxic, with allegations of emotional abuse from both sides. Griffith, once heralded for his charming performances in period dramas, found himself persona non grata in Hollywood, losing roles and sponsorships. Former co-stars described him as withdrawn and guarded, with one calling him a powder keg under pressure. Despite his efforts to rebuild his image through Hallmark movies and independent work, the damage lingered. In 2025, he is 51, still active in film, but mostly in Europe, his once polished brand forever marked by one of the industry's most bitter public divorces. Richard Graham, born on May 10, 1960, portrayed Quartermaster Rowe in Titanic, 1997, at the age of 37. His character was a dependable and diligent crew member, but unlike his on-screen persona, Richard has kept a much lower profile in real life. Throughout his career, Richard has avoided the drama that so often surrounds actors, maintaining a clean reputation and avoiding any major scandals. His career has been consistent, with appearances in several television shows and films, but never quite reaching the level of fame one might expect. The lack of controversy surrounding him has made Richard an enigma in the industry, with little known about his personal life. Some say this is by choice. Richard has always been fiercely private, refusing to engage with the media. In 2025, at the age of 64, Richard Graham lives a quiet, almost invisible life, free from the distractions of Hollywood, focusing on his family and occasional theater work, staying far from the limelight. Eric Braden, born on April 3, 1941, played the wealthy and composed John Jacob Astor in Titanic, 1997, at the age of 56. Astor, a man of power and fortune, maintained his dignity even as disaster struck, a stark contrast to Eric's own tumultuous career and personal life. Although Eric became a well-known face in Hollywood, especially for his long-running role in The Young and the Restless, his path was riddled with clashes with co-stars and public feuds. His strong personality often led to conflict on set, and there were whispers of tension between him and Titanic cast members. Behind the scenes, Eric has been accused of being difficult to work with, known for his intense need for control. His personal life has been equally contentious, with rumors of extramarital affairs and a strained relationship with his children from his first marriage. At 84 years old in 2025, Eric continues to live in California, keeping a relatively low profile despite his enduring fame, rarely engaging with the press. Ron Donachi, born on April 26, 1956, took on the role of Master-at-Arms in Titanic, 1997, at the age of 41. In the film, he was the stern, no-nonsense enforcer of order on board the ill-fated ship. Off-screen, Ron's life has been significantly less dramatic, at least in public view. Known for his professionalism and his reputation as an actor who doesn't stir trouble, Ron has stayed largely out of the spotlight. While his career hasn't had any major setbacks, his personal life has seen its own challenges, including a painful divorce that he rarely speaks about. Friends close to Ron have mentioned that he struggled with bouts of depression after his marriage fell apart, but he has never let it affect his work. In 2025, at 69 years old, Ron continues to act, often in supporting roles, while living a relatively peaceful life in the UK. He has avoided scandals but remains a somewhat tragic figure, burdened by past personal pain that he has chosen to keep private. Janette Goldstein was born on February 4, 1960, and took on the role of the Irish mommy in 1997 at age 37. Her heartbreaking scene, putting her children to bed as water rose, left an unforgettable impression. Goldstein, a chameleon actress known for tough roles in Aliens and Near Dark, once confessed that playing the passive maternal figure in Titanic was emotionally harder than firing a pulse rifle. But behind the professionalism lay a career tainted by casting controversies, most notably for playing ethnically ambiguous roles, including a Latina in Aliens, which sparked backlash decades later. Her marriage to an independent filmmaker ended in scandal after leaked emails suggested he accused her of emotional manipulation and professional sabotage. Despite opening a successful lingerie boutique in LA, sources close to her report she's prone to erratic behavior, including confrontational social media rants and a rumored rift with James Cameron after he rejected her for Avatar. Now 65, she remains active but selectively chooses roles, wary of Hollywood's changing climate. Michael Ensign was born on February 13, 1944, and played Benjamin Guggenheim in 1997 at the age of 53. In Titanic, his portrayal of the aristocratic Guggenheim, stoically dressed in formal wear as the ship sank, offered a haunting image of class dignity amidst chaos. Though often typecast in roles of authority or refinement, Ensign's career was marked by a string of near-miss breakthroughs, with many roles cut during editing or buried in ensemble casts. A respected stage actor, his transition to film was rocky. Insiders recall an explosive feud during the Midnight Madness shoot that resulted in a years-long industry freeze-out. Despite a seemingly quiet personal life, former colleagues have whispered about a reclusive lifestyle marked by bitter rifts with family over inheritance disputes. Rumors of controlling behavior with younger co-stars and public outbursts at conventions have trailed him since the 2000s. As of 2025, Michael Ensign is 81 and lives in quiet seclusion in Los Angeles, rarely appearing in public. Martin Jarvis was born on August 4, 1941, and stepped into the role of Sir Duff Gordon in 1997 at age 56. The calm aristocrat he portrayed was rooted in decorum, but Jarvis's real-life reputation suggests a far more cunning persona. Known in British theatre as the Silver-Tongued Fox, he allegedly manipulated casting decisions behind the scenes, often to the detriment of younger actors. Though his voice work earned him accolades, whispers of a falling out with director Kenneth Branagh over stolen script ideas still linger. His marriage has endured, but not without rumors. Tabloid fodder in 2011 suggested he had an emotional affair with a co-star 2 generations younger, which he never denied outright. Colleagues describe him as brilliant but exhausting, prone to intellectual grandstanding and subtle power plays during productions. Despite this, Jarvis remains a fixture in British radio drama. At 83 in 2025, he has slowed down but continues narrating audiobooks and lives quietly in West Sussex. Rochelle Rose, born in 1974, portrayed the Countess of Rothus in Titanic in 1997 at just 23. Though her role was small, her character's bravery mirrored her early career's promise. But behind her poised performance lay a turbulent trajectory. After Titanic, her film prospects evaporated. Industry whispers blamed her reputation for being difficult and cold on set, with one former agent citing a trail of burned bridges across casting offices. Her personal life was equally chaotic. A whirlwind marriage to a producer twice her age ended after she allegedly had an affair with a co-star during a Cannes appearance. friends revealed she struggled with body image issues and fell into a years-long battle with prescription drugs following a failed audition streak in the early 2000s. At one point, she attempted a rebrand as a spiritual wellness coach but was called out for plagiarizing content from lesser-known bloggers. As of 2025, she is around 51 and has largely vanished from public view, reportedly living in seclusion in the Pacific Northwest. Rosalind Ayres was born on December 7, 1946, and played Lady Duff Gordon in 1997 at the age of 50. Her character's poise and refinement reflected her real-life persona, but that composure has at times concealed personal turmoil. Though part of a respected acting couple with Martin Jarvis, their working dynamic was reportedly strained. Multiple insiders from their production company claimed she was often overshadowed and marginalized in key decisions, leading to a bitter internal power struggle that briefly split their brand. Ayres, despite a clean public image, has clashed with directors over script control and once walked off a set mid-shoot, prompting a quiet lawsuit settled out of court. Her friendship with a rising stage actress ended in scandal after private letters were leaked, hinting at a mentorship that allegedly turned into possessiveness and jealousy. Still, Ayres remains admired for her consistency and class. Now 78, she continues to act occasionally and co-produces audio dramas, keeping a low but steady profile. Who is your favorite character from Titanic? How do you feel knowing that some of the actors have passed away? Don't hesitate to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this content, please remember to like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you won't miss future videos. Thank you so much.